The alien commander stood tall on the bridge of her warship. Her name was Commander Zera, known across her people for her sharp mind and unshakable pride. Her fleet stretched like a wall of steel and fire, hundreds of ships ready to move into the forbidden zone of space. The crew was confident, their eyes shining with arrogance. They believed no enemy in the galaxy could stand against them. On the other side of the starfield hovered a single human ship. Small and unremarkable, its gray hull was scarred from past battles, and yet it floated with quiet strength. Inside sat Captain Morgan, a human explorer who had seen things few dared to witness. He had been waiting for the alien commander. Knowing she would come, humans had warned her kind again and again, but she had refused to listen. The comms channel opened, and the human's voice filled her ship. "Commander Zera, turn your fleet back," Morgan said, his tone calm but heavy. "There is something in that zone you do not understand. It does not forgive trespass. It does not let intruders leave alive." The alien commander laughed, her crew joining her. She leaned forward in her chair, her eyes glowing with defiance. "You humans are always afraid. You speak of dangers, but we see only empty space. Your fear is weakness." Captain Morgan did not raise his voice. He spoke slowly, every word carrying weight. "You mistake caution for fear. We entered that zone once. We lost an entire colony fleet, only one ship returned, and the crew never spoke again. Their minds were broken. Their bodies changed and still. You wish to enter?" The bridge crew whispered among themselves, unease flickering in their eyes. But Commander Zera silenced them with a wave of her hand. "We are not humans," she said proudly. "We are stronger, faster, and wiser. Whatever phantom you believe in, we will crush it. You cannot scare us with ghost stories." Morgan's face appeared on the bridge's main screen, his eyes cold and steady. "You think humans tell ghost stories to aliens?" he asked. "We do not waste words when we say something waits in the dark. It means death not just for your ships, Commander, but for your entire species if you keep pushing." The words hung in the air, heavy and sharp. For a moment, even Zera felt a chill crawl along her spine. But her pride smothered it quickly. She stood and faced the human's image, her voice rising like a blade. "We are not afraid of you or your shadows. Human warnings mean nothing. My fleet will go where I command, and no human will stop us." Morgan leaned closer to his screen, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Then you will learn the hard way. And when you beg for help, remember this moment. Remember that we tried to save you." With that, he cut the transmission, his ship drifting silently away. He would not follow them. He would not enter the cursed zone again. The alien commander clenched her fists. She felt anger burning in her chest. Her crew shouted in support, eager to prove themselves. To them, humans were weak, fragile, and small. What could one fragile species know about the terrors of space that greater empires had not already faced? The fleet engines roared to life one by one. The warships turned toward the black void that humans called the silent grave. No stars shone within it, only a cold darkness that seemed endless. Scanners showed nothing but empty silence to the aliens. It was just another patch of unexplored space. But to humans it was a wound in the galaxy, a scar left by something ancient and cruel. Captain Morgan watched from a distance. His ship hidden among drifting asteroids, he whispered to himself, his voice heavy with regret. "They never listen. They always think we are afraid, but they never ask what we have survived." On the alien bridge, Commander Zera ordered her fleet forward. Her eyes burned with ambition. She wanted glory. She wanted proof that humans were liars. Her crew obeyed, their laughter echoing through the ship. None of them saw the way the darkness shifted at the edge of their scanners. None of them noticed that space itself seemed to tremble as if something deep inside had awakened. The human's warning was still in her mind, but she forced it down. Pride was louder than caution. Victory was sweeter than fear. She believed she would return as a hero, bringing proof that humans were cowards. But the silence of the zone was not empty. It was waiting, and it was hungry. The alien fleet drifted toward the forbidden zone, their engines glowing bright against the endless dark. Commander Zera stood at the front of her bridge, her eyes locked on the black void ahead. Behind her, the crew whispered, some full of excitement, others heavy with doubt. The humans' warning still echoed in their minds, but none dared to speak it aloud. Their pride demanded silence. Their loyalty demanded courage from a distance. Captain Morgan's ship floated quietly among asteroids. He did not chase them. He did not try again to warn them. His job was finished. His words had been ignored. Still, his eyes stayed fixed on the fleet. His fingers tapped against the console. A slow, uneasy rhythm. He knew what waited in that place. He knew the darkness was not empty. The alien scanners showed nothing. Only emptiness, no stars, no planets, no ships. It was as if the galaxy itself had erased this region. One officer frowned at the results, her hands trembling as she read the screen. "There should be stars here," she whispered. "But the maps show nothing. Not even dead suns." Commander Zira snapped her gaze toward her. "Do not speak fear into this bridge," the humans lie. "Our scanners see only space," the crew nodded, forcing their voices firm. "Yes, Commander, it is only space." Nothing more, but their hearts felt heavy. Space was never this silent, never this empty, even in the coldest voids. There was always starlight. Here there was nothing, only black. As the fleet moved deeper, strange signals began to hum through the comms. At first it was only static, but soon it grew sharper. Whispers slipped between the noise, voices that spoke in languages no one understood. The crew looked at each other with wide eyes. Some swore they heard their own names in the whispers. Others claimed they heard children crying. Still, Commander Zira dismissed it. "Interference, that is all. Keep moving forward, far behind." Captain Morgan shook his head slowly. "They can hear it already," he muttered, his voice low. "The zone is awake, and it knows they are here." His ship stayed still, engines cold. He would not enter. He would not risk it again. But he could not look away. He could not stop watching as arrogance pulled them toward ruin. Inside the fleet, one ship's lights began to flicker. The crew inside reported power surges, strange malfunctions with no clear source. They tried to restart systems, but alarms echoed louder. Then, without warning, the entire ship vanished from the scanners. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. No explosion, no wreckage, nothing. The other ships searched desperately, but there was no trace. Only silence remained. Panic spread quickly. Officers shouted reports, voices shaking with fear. But Commander Zira slammed her fist against the arm of her chair. "Silence, one ship lost, does not mean danger. It means weakness if they cannot hold formation. We do not need them. Continue forward." Her voice was iron, her pride unbroken, but deep inside, her heart pounded against her chest. For the first time, she wondered if the human had spoken the truth. The whispers grew louder. Now every ship heard them, voices echoing through their comms even when channels were closed. Some voices sounded like lost family, some like trusted friends. The crew began to shake, some covering their ears. One officer fell to his knees, crying out that his dead brother was calling to him. Zira ordered guards to drag him away. Her jaw clenched, her anger burning like fire. Fear was spreading too quickly, and she would not allow it. Still, her eyes betrayed her. When she looked out the viewport, she thought she saw movement. A shadow gliding between ships, larger than any vessel in her fleet. It moved too quickly, vanishing into the void before scanners could catch it. She blinked, forcing her mind to deny it. There is nothing there, she told herself, only tricks. Only lies. Her second-in-command leaned close, his voice low. "Commander, the men grow restless. Perhaps we should—" "Enough!" Zira cut him off, her voice sharp. "Do you think I will turn back because of whispers and shadows? Do you think we will prove humans right? No. We will go deeper. We will uncover the truth, and when we do, the galaxy will see who is strong and who is weak." The fleet obeyed, their engines roaring as they plunged further into the darkness. But the silence grew heavier, the whispers never stopped, and something unseen followed close behind. Captain Morgan closed his eyes. He could already picture what was coming. He whispered to the void, not to the aliens, not to his crew, but to the darkness itself. "They are yours now." The alien fleet pressed deeper into the black void, their engines glowing faint against the endless dark. Commander Zira sat rigid in her command chair, her sharp eyes scanning every report that came through. The whispers in the comms had not stopped, sometimes fading, sometimes rising, but always present. Her crew worked nervously, every movement stiff with unease, yet none dared speak of turning back. For the commander's pride weighed heavier than their fear. The scanners continued to flicker with strange readings. One moment they showed empty space. The next they pulsed with shadows that vanished as quickly as they came. An officer adjusted the sensors again and again, frustration breaking through his fear. "Commander, the readings make no sense." It is like the zone itself is bending the signals like spaces. Changing. Zira's jaw tightened, her voice sharp. Machines do not bend space. Do not let human lies twist your mind. Keep scanning. Then it happened, a single ship, positioned on the fleet's left flank, flickered off the screen. The crew gasped. Alarms blaring across the bridge. Contact lost with the Veloc. All signals gone, shouted a technician, his voice trembling. Was there an explosion? Zira demanded. No, Commander, nothing at all. One moment it was there, the next. Gone, the bridge filled with a heavy silence. Every officer stared at the dark screen where the Veloc should have been. No wreckage, no life signs, no heat, as if the ship had never existed. The whispers in the comms grew louder, as if mocking their loss. Some crew swore they heard the missing ship's crew screaming faintly in the static. Search the area, Zira ordered, her voice iron though her hands trembled on the armrests. The fleet scanned, spreading their signals wide, but the results came back empty. No debris, no trace, nothing. Her second-in-command stepped closer, lowering his voice so the others would not hear. Commander, perhaps the humans' words were not just fear. Perhaps there truly is something here. Zira's eyes burned as she turned on him. You dare suggest we turn back because of one lost ship? Do you think humans are stronger than us? We will not retreat. We will not be shamed by their weak warnings, the crew obeyed. But the fear was growing. Another ship's lights began to flicker in the distance. Its engines sputtered, power draining as though something was feeding on it. The captain of that ship shouted over comms, his voice broken by static. Something is inside the systems. It's not a malfunction, it's alive. The transmission cut out with a shriek of noise. When the screens cleared, that ship too was gone. The bridge fell into chaos. Officers shouted, some praying, some demanding retreat. The whispers in the comms grew sharp, now clear enough to form words. Leave. Leave. You should not be here. The voices were not human. Not alien, but something far older. Zira gritted her teeth, shouting above the panic. Silence, hold formation. We are warriors, not children scared of shadows. The humans want us weak. They want us to fear nothing. We will not give them the pleasure. But even as she spoke, her heart pounded with doubt. She had seen the shadows with her own eyes. Something vast had moved in the dark. Larger than her flagship, faster than any engine. She had not told her crew, but she knew it was real. She clung to her pride like a weapon because without it, fear would consume her. Far behind, Captain Morgan sat in silence aboard his small ship. Through long-range scanners, he saw the alien fleet breaking apart. Ships vanishing one by one. His hands tightened on the console, his face grim. They never learn, he whispered. They never believe until it is too late. The human ship stayed still, far from the zone, but Morgan could hear faint whispers on his own comms. As if the darkness was stretching to reach even him, he quickly shut down external channels, muttering under his breath, not again. I will not hear your voices again. On Zira's bridge, fear spread like fire. Another officer shouted, Commander, I swear I saw something on the viewport, a shadow between the ships. Others cried out. Agreeing, it was huge, it moved without light, without sound. The crew turned toward their leader. Desperate for guidance, Zira stood tall, her voice cutting like steel. We are not afraid. We are not humans who run from whispers. We will fight if something dares to challenge us. Arm the weapons. The order gave the crew momentary courage. Weapons hummed to life. Fleets aligned into battle formation. But the darkness remained still. Silent, watching, the enemy did not attack. Not yet, it was patient, it wanted them deeper. The whispers changed again, now sounding almost like laughter. The crew shivered, some covering their ears, though nothing could block the voices. They all felt it now. They were being hunted, and the first strike had only just begun. The alien fleet drifted deeper into the silent zone. Weapons armed, shields raised, but courage breaking with every passing second. Commander Zira stood tall on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the endless black outside. She told herself that the darkness was only space, empty and harmless, but deep inside she knew it was watching them. Every breath of her crew, every beat of their hearts, felt exposed beneath unseen eyes. The whispers in the comms twisted again. This time they were no longer random voices, they spoke in the alien tongue, repeating the same words again and again. You should not be here. You should not be here. Some crew covered their ears. Some cried out in panic. Zira barked at them to hold their positions. but even her voice trembled beneath the weight of the sound. Suddenly, the lights across the bridge dimmed. The ship's systems flickered. Alarms rang out as if the warship itself was choking. On the view screens, static danced before clearing again, and then the crew saw it. A shadow larger than any ship they had ever known. It moved between the stars, its shape shifting, never holding one form. One moment it looked like wings spread wide. The next it stretched like claws across the void. It did not glow, it did not roar, but its presence crushed the air from their lungs. "Scanners, report!" Zira demanded, her voice raw. "Commander," an officer stammered, his eyes wide. "The systems cannot read it. Every sensor is breaking. It is there. But it does not exist." The bridge fell silent. The crew staring at the impossible shape that stalked them. The shadow drifted between ships, slower than light but faster than thought. Where it passed, power dimmed, lights flickered, and whispers grew into screams. Then a voice slipped through the comms, not alien. Not human, but deep and cold. It spoke in every language at once. "You were warned," it said. The crew froze, their blood turning to ice. They looked at each other, fear in every face. The human had spoken true far behind. Captain Morgan sat in his ship watching from a safe distance. His jaw tightened as he saw the massive shadow drift through the alien fleet. He whispered to himself, "It has awakened. They've gone too far now." He did not open his comms. He did not speak to the commander again, for he knew words no longer mattered. The hunter in the dark had already chosen its prey. Back on Zira's bridge, panic grew. One ship opened fire, desperate beams of light shooting into the void. The weapons struck the shadow, but the energy vanished into its form as though swallowed whole. The shadow did not even flinch, instead it turned. Gliding toward the firing ship, the crew on Zira's bridge watched in horror as the shadow wrapped around the vessel. The ship's lights went out, its engines died, and in a heartbeat, it was gone. Not destroyed, not broken, simply erased. The shadow dissolved back into the void, leaving nothing behind. Screams filled the comms, officers shouted, "Commander, what do we do? It cannot be fought. It cannot be seen." Her second-in-command's voice shook. "We must retreat, before it takes more." But Zira slammed her fist against the console. "No, retreat means admitting humans were right. Retreat means weakness. We will not give them that victory. Ready all ships, full firepower, we will destroy it." The crew obeyed. Though their hands trembled, the fleet opened fire, energy beams and missiles tearing through the dark. Explosions lit the void, but none touched the hunter. The shadow slid between the attacks like water through open fingers. The whispers in the comms became mocking laughter. The crew cried out as their weapons failed, their courage shattering. And then the shadow struck again. Another ship vanished, then another, swallowed whole with no warning. The hunter did not roar, it did not celebrate. It only fed, slow and patient. Each loss made the silence heavier. Each vanishing ship carved terror deeper into the crew. Zira gripped the arms of her chair, her nails cutting into the metal. She refused to believe. She refused to bend, but in her chest her heart thundered with fear. She saw the human's face in her mind, his cold warning. "You will learn the hard way," he had said. And now she understood, but it was too late. The fleet was no longer laughing, no longer mocking. They were prey in the dark, and the hunter had only just begun its feast. The alien fleet was no longer proud, no longer confident. The hunter in the dark had shown itself, and now the silence of space was filled with terror. Commander Zira's warships floated like trapped insects, caught in a web too vast to escape. Every eye on her bridge was fixed on the shadow that drifted between their ships. It did not hurry, it did not chase, it simply moved as though it owned the void. The comms exploded with desperate voices. "Commander, we cannot lock weapons. Our scanners are blind, shields are failing. The systems are draining by themselves. Something is inside the ship. I hear it whispering in the walls," Zira shouted over them, demanding silence, demanding control. But her voice no longer carried the same weight. The crew could hear the fear behind her words. The hunter struck again. This time it did not erase a ship instantly. It wrapped around one vessel, its shadow stretching across the hull like black liquid. The crew of that ship screamed over open comms, their voices raw with terror. "We are losing air, it's inside. The walls are closing in." The transmission ended with a horrible silence. The shadow pulled the vessel into itself, and then there was nothing left. The entire fleet shook with panic. Some ships broke formation, engines burning as they tried to flee into the void. But the darkness moved faster, cutting them off. The hunter was not chasing, it was herding, like a predator guiding prey into the perfect trap. On Zara's bridge, officers pleaded with her. "Commander, we must retreat," the human was right. "This is not a battle we can win." Her second-in-command grabbed her arm, his voice desperate. "If we do not leave now, there will be no fleet left." But Zara tore her arm free, her eyes blazing. "No, we will not run. Humans may live in fear, but we do not. We will fight until the last ship. We are not cowards." Her words were brave, but her hands trembled. In her mind, she saw again the human's cold eyes, the warning he had given her. She hated that his words echoed louder than her own. She hated that her crew now looked at her not with pride, but with doubt. Far away, Captain Morgan watched through long-range sensors. The alien fleet flickered on his screens, ships winking out one by one. He whispered to himself, his voice filled with sorrow. They should have listened. They never believe until the screams begin. He could hear faint static in his comms, the same whispers that haunted the aliens, but he shut them out, closing his eyes. He would not let the darkness touch him again. The hunter struck harder, faster. A group of 5 alien ships turned their weapons as one, firing everything they had. Beams of plasma, missiles, torpedoes, all vanished into the shadow. The hunter responded not with noise, not with fury, but with silence. It slid through them, and one by one the ships blinked out, their voices gone mid-scream. The rest of the fleet could only watch as comrades vanished before their eyes. The whispers in the comms grew sharp. Like blades against the mind, crew fell to their knees, clutching their heads, some crying, some laughing as madness took them. Zara shouted for order, but even her guards looked broken. She turned to her second-in-command, but he no longer met her eyes. The weight of her pride was collapsing, and she knew it. Another ship cracked apart, its hull splitting without a sound. Bodies spilled into the void, frozen instantly. The hunter did not even pause, it moved on. The bridge crew watched in horror, their silence heavier than screams. Every death was a reminder that this was no battle. This was punishment. At last Zara whispered to herself. The human was right. Her voice was so soft her crew almost did not hear. She clenched her fists until her claws dug into her palms, blood dripping. But nothing could hide the truth. Her pride had brought them here. Her arrogance had condemned them. One of her officers finally cried out, "Commander, please order retreat. If we stay, we will all die." Zara opened her mouth to speak, but before she could, the hunter struck again. This time it moved straight toward her flagship. The entire bridge shook, lights dying, alarms blaring. Through the viewport, they saw the shadow sliding across their hull. Massive and endless, the whispers filled their ears like thunder. Voices of every kind, every language shouting one thing: "You should not be here." For the first time in her life, Commander Zara felt true fear. Not fear of battle, not fear of death, but fear of something she could not understand. Her pride shattered like glass. Her voice cracked as she gave the order she swore she never would. All ships, retreat, but already it was too late. The brutal consequences had begun, and the hunter was not finished. The order to retreat came too late. The alien fleet was already broken, scattered, and hunted. Commander Zara's voice echoed through the comms, but many ships were gone, erased without trace. The survivors heard her command, yet their eyes showed only terror. They no longer believed in victory. They only dreamed of escape. Engines roared across the fleet, ships twisting away from formation. Some fled blindly into the black. Others tried to regroup, but the hunter was everywhere. Its shadow slid across the stars like a tide, cutting paths between ships, always faster, always closer. Every move they made only seemed to draw it nearer. On the bridge of her flagship, Zara gripped the armrests of her chair. The cold steel bent beneath her claws. She wanted to scream orders, to show strength. But the truth was heavy in her chest. Her pride had led them here, and now they were paying the price. Her crew looked at her with wide, desperate eyes, waiting for answers, but she had none. The comms burst with static and then a voice. It was Captain Morgan, the human who had warned her. He had reopened the channel, his tone calm but heavy. "Do you see now, Commander? Do you understand why we told you to stay away?" Zara's pride burned, but her fear was greater. She swallowed hard and forced the words out. "Human, help us, we cannot fight it, tell us what to do." Her crew gasped at her words. Never before had their commander begged. Never before had she lowered her head. But she had no choice, the hunter was closing in. its shadow sliding along the hull of another ship. Tearing it from existence, Morgan's reply came after a long silence. You mocked us, you called us weak, and now you want our help. Why should humanity risk itself again for those who never listen? The bridge fell silent. Even the hum of machines seemed to fade. Zira's face tightened with shame, her chest heavy with regret. Her second-in-command whispered, Commander, he is our only chance. She looked at her crew, broken and terrified, and for once she let her pride fall away. Her voice cracked as she spoke. Because my people will die. Because my pride blinded me, I see now. You were right, human, please, if you know a way. Tell us, Morgan's voice was cold, but beneath it there was sorrow. There is no way to kill it, there is no way to fight it. The only chance you have is to run, and even then, most of you will not make it. Zira closed her eyes. Her heart sinking, she thought of her fleet. Once mighty, now nothing but prey. Even escape felt impossible, but it was the only path left. Then we will run, she said, her voice soft but steady. She opened the fleet-wide channel again, her image filling the screens of every surviving ship. This is Commander Zira, all ships. Scatter and flee at full speed, do not look back, do not stop. Run with everything you have. Her words shook. But her crew obeyed. Engines flared as the fleet broke apart, each ship sprinting in a different direction. But the darkness followed, one by one. Fleeing ships vanished into the hunter's shadow. Their screams cut short, their lights extinguished. Some tried to hide among asteroids, but the shadow slipped through the rocks like smoke. Others pushed engines to their limits, but nothing was faster than the dark. Each death echoed through the comms, a reminder that escape was almost hopeless. On Zira's bridge, alarms blared as the shadow moved closer. It slid along the edges of her ship, draining power, dimming lights. The crew screamed as whispers filled the air. Not through the comms, but through the walls themselves. Voices crawled into their minds. You cannot leave. You belong to us. Zira clutched her head. Her vision swimming, her pride was gone, her power gone. Only raw fear remained. Captain Morgan's voice came again. Do not listen, do not look at it, focus only on escape. That is your only chance. Zira gasped for breath, her claws shaking on the controls. Guide us, human. Tell me where to go. But Morgan's voice turned quiet, almost mournful. I cannot save you, Commander, I told you before. Once it wakes, it does not stop. Her heart sank. She had begged, she had humbled herself. And still there was no salvation. Her fleet was dying. Her people were vanishing into the void. For the first time in her life, she wished she had listened. For the first time, she wished she had feared. The hunter struck again, tearing through another group of ships. Their lights flickered once, then were gone, only silence remained. Zira's eyes blurred with tears she would not let fall. Her claws dug into the console as her ship raced through the dark. Engines burning, crew crying, fear everywhere. She whispered to herself, words no one else could hear. Forgive me. The desperate escape had begun. But the hunter was not finished, it never was. The fleet was gone, scattered and broken. Where once there had been hundreds of proud warships, now only a few flickered in the void, running blind, engines screaming. The hunter had claimed nearly all of them, leaving behind nothing but silence, and still it followed, patient, endless, unstoppable. On the bridge of her flagship, Commander Zira stood like a shadow of herself, her armor scratched, her eyes hollow, her voice raw from shouting orders no one obeyed. Around her, the crew worked in chaos, faces pale, voices trembling. They no longer looked at her as a leader, only as another soul waiting to die. The comms were filled with cries from the last surviving ships. We cannot escape, it is behind us. Our engines are burning. It is faster. Commander, what do we do? Zira clenched her fists, her pride shattered, her body trembling. She had begged the human for help, she had swallowed her arrogance, and still, the darkness hunted them. The hunter's shape stretched across the void again. Larger than the stars, it slid between the fleeing ships, blotting out what little light remained. Its whispers filled the minds of every living being. Run if you wish, but you cannot hide. Crew members screamed, some tearing at their consoles, others begging gods who could not hear. The air itself seemed heavier, as though the shadow pressed against their lungs. Zira's second-in-command turned to her, eyes wet, voice shaking. Commander, we cannot run forever. The human was right. It will not stop, we must... We must face it. She stared at him, her heart twisting. To face it meant death, she knew, but to keep running meant the same. At last, she nodded, her voice breaking. Then we make our stand. Here now. If we are to die, we die fighting. Her words echoed through the bridge. The crew hesitated, torn between despair and duty, but slowly, one by one, they nodded. If death was certain, then better to meet it with weapons raised than with backs turned. The fear remained, but something else flickered within them. Defiance. Signal the remaining ships, Zira ordered, her voice steadier now. Tell them to regroup. This is the last stand of our people. We will not flee like cowards. We will fight, even if the void devours us. The comms relayed her command, and the last survivors turned their ships' engines flaring as they moved back into formation. It was a broken fleet, but it was all that remained. The hunter moved closer, stretching across their path like a storm. Its body shifted, its shape twisting into claws, wings, and faces. Every crew member saw something different, something pulled from their deepest fears. Yet still, they raised their weapons. The fleet fired as one, beams of light and fire cutting into the dark. Explosions lit the void, painting the hunter in brief flashes, but nothing hurt it, nothing slowed it. It only grew closer. The whispers turned into roars. You cannot stop what was before you. You cannot resist what you do not understand. Crew members collapsed at their stations, some sobbing, some laughing as their minds broke. Yet the ships kept firing, emptying every weapon, every missile. The void became a storm of light, but the hunter devoured it all. On her bridge, Zara stood tall, her claws digging into the console. She thought of the human again, his cold eyes, his final words. When you beg for help, remember this moment. And she did remember. Her pride had blinded her, her arrogance had doomed them. But even so, she would not go silent. Even if her death meant nothing, she would not give the hunter the pleasure of surrender. The shadow moved through the fleet, swallowing ships one by one. Each vessel blinked out of existence, their screams cut short. Still the others fought, their weapons blazing until the last spark of power was gone. One by one, their lights died, until only the flagship remained. The hunter turned its endless gaze upon Zara's ship, its form wrapped around the vessel like a serpent. The hull groaned, alarms blared, systems died. The crew looked at their commander, waiting, hoping, fearing. Zira drew in a final breath, her voice rising above the chaos. We are not weak. We are not afraid. Remember that. Her words filled the bridge, filled the comms. And then the hunter struck. The ship shook violently, lights flickering, consoles exploding. The crew cried out, some falling, some reaching for each other. Zira stood unmoving, her eyes locked on the darkness outside. She would not look away, not now, not at the end. Far behind, Captain Morgan watched his screens. The last alien ships had fallen, and now only Zara's flagship remained. He knew what was coming. He had seen it before. Yet still, he watched, silent, unmoving. And when the final lights of her ship flickered and went dark, he whispered to himself, "You would not listen. You never listen." The last stand was over and the void was quiet once more.